everyone. We are continuing our learning of Sefer Yirmiyahu. We are up to Perek Lamed Hey. I've already remarked that the prophecies of Yirmiyahu are not in chronological order, and Ein Mukta Mamucher B'Torah. We have been looking at a number of nevuos that Yirmiyahu got in the reign of Tzidkiyahu, shortly before the Churban Beis HaMikdash. But now, all of a sudden, we're going backwards, all the way back to the reign of Yehoiakim, a tremendous Rasha, who was the son of Yoshio, a tremendous tzaddik, and it was Yehoiakim's reign in which Babylonia conquered Eretz Yisrael, although there was no Gullus and no Churban. So this is a time when Eretz Yisrael is under Babylonian rule, but they have a certain amount of autonomy, independence. There is no active war against them, and there is a Beis HaMikdash, and the Yidden are able to stay in their place. But Yehoiakim was a tremendous, tremendous Rasha. And Yirmiyahu is giving Musar about tshuva. You have to do tshuva. So the pasuk says, Perek Lamed Hey pasuk Aleph, Hadavor asher hayal Yirmiyahu mi'es Hashem. This was a message that Yirmiyahu had from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bimei Yehoiakim. So this is much earlier than the prophecies we just read. Ben Yoshio Melech Yehuda Leimar. So here you'll see this is not so much of a prophecy as Hashem telling Yirmiyahu to do certain things. You, Yirmiyahu, haloch el beis harechavim, v'dibarta osam, v'haviyoisam beis Hashem el achas halishachos, v'hishkisa oisam yayin. Go to a family who are called the Rechavim, and this actually means they are descendants of a person whose name was Yonadav ben Rechav. And Chazal tell us that the Rechavim are descendants of Yisrael, and it's not so clear. Either they converted and were Yidden, or even if they weren't Yidden, they were Gerei Toshav, they were righteous Gentiles who were Makabel, the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, and lived in Eretz Yisrael, very closely connected to the Jewish people. So as they say, it's a machlekes a little bit. Are they Gerim Mamish, or are they descendants of Gerim Mamish? Or are they kind of Gerei Toshav? But it was very, very interesting that they had some very unusual habits. They were like Bedouins. They did not live in cities. They wandered from place to place to place. They didn't have a Makom Kavua. They didn't own fields or vineyards. And they also had a practice. They did not drink wine. They were very righteous, very tzaddikim, and they thought that wine and property and even kavios would distract them from Avodas Hashem. So here Yirmiyahu is told, go to the descendants of Yonadav ben Rechav, bring them to the Beis HaMikdash, and give them wine. Now we don't mean they drank wine in the Mikdash itself, but in the chambers where it's permissible to eat and drink. And Yirmiyahu says, I followed Hashem's instruction. V'ekach es Yaznaya ben Yirmiyahu, no relation to the prophet, ben Chavatsinya, who was the leader of the Rechavim at the time, v'yes echav, v'yes kol banav, his brethren, his children, it's called Beis HaRechavim, all of the house of Rechav. V'yavi Yisam Beis Hashem el Lishkas b'nei Chanan ben Yigdalyahu ish Elokim. I brought them, again, not in the Mikdash proper, but to the chamber of Chanan ben Yigdalyahu, who was a prophet. So these are chambers adjacent to the Mikdash. And as far as you know, he was a true prophet of Hashem. Otherwise unknown. We don't have any prophecies of him. But Chanan ben Yigdalyahu, the man of God, Asher Eitzel Lishkas Hasorim, that was a chamber next to the chamber of the king's officials, asher mimal lelishkas maaseyu ben shalom shomer asaf, that was above, meaning a higher elevation, to the lishka of Maaseyu ben Shalom, who was a Kohen, Shomer Hasaf, who was in charge of the overall maintenance of the Mikdash. Meaning these are different lishkais, different offices, different chambers that people had. So I now have the Rechavim in this chamber. Etain lifnei b'nei beis ha-Rechavim geviyim alein yayin v'kaisais. I gave them goblets full of wine. That's what Hashem told me to do. V'yaymer aleim, and I said to them, Shasu yayin, drink wine. V'yayimru, and they said, Lo nishte yayin. Apparently Yirmiyahu may not even have known of this custom. Hashem wanted Yirmiyahu to discover this minhag because there's a certain musar that's connected to it. The Rechavim are brought to the Beis HaMikdash. They're given VIP treatment. They're given wine by a Navi. But they say, we're not going to drink it. Remember, Hashem didn't command Yirmiyahu that they have to drink it. Just give it to them. Vayaymer. The Rechavim said, Lo nishta yayin. We don't drink wine. Ki Yonadav ben Rechav Avinu, our ancestor, Yonadav ben Rechav, a descendant of Yisrael, Tziva aleinu lemar, Lo tishtu yayin atem uvnechem ad olam. Don't drink wine forever. And not only that, bayis leitzivnu. Do not build a permanent house. V'zera leitizru. Do not plant a field. V'kerem lo tito. Do not plant a vineyard. V'lo yeh lechem, and you shouldn't own one. Ki b'yohalim teishvu. Kol yemechem. Dwell in tents as a Bedouin. Wander from place to place. Laman tichyu yamim rabim al penei ha'adama asher atem garim sham. And this will ensure that you will be able to dwell in the land for many, many days. Why is that so? So the pashtus once again is by living a simple life, menutak from possessions and even the pleasures of wine. That will take away your greed and your jealousy and your arrogance and your gaiva. And that will give you the zechus to remain on the land. Now it's true that we sometimes say, Chazal say, that the Nazir is a sinner because he's depriving himself of wine. And yet we find that there is an inyan of a Naziris, L'Shem Shemayim as well. And this was the commitment, this was the obligation that our ancestor, Yonadav ben Rechav, put upon us. And Pasuk Ches says, Vanishma b'kayil Yonadav ben Rechav Avinu. We listened to the voice of our ancestor. L'chol asher tzivanu. Everything he told us to do. Levilti shesais yayin, kol yameinu. We do not drink wine. Anachnu, nishenu, our wives as well. Baneinu uvnosenu, our sons and our daughters. Ulevilti b'nais batim l'shiftenu, and we do not build houses. V'kerem v'sada v'zera liyalanu, and vineyards and fields we don't have. V'neshev b'yalim, we dwell in tents. V'nishma v'nas kechel asher tzivanu Yonadav Avinu. Whatever our father, our ancestor told us, we obey, we listen, we don't deviate. Now, why are we here? Apparently, the Rechavim did migrate to Yerushalayim when Nebuchadnezzar was waging war. They thought Yerushalayim, as a walled city, would give them some safety. Vayihi bi'alos Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel al-Aretz v'neimer bo v'navo Yerushalayim neichel akastim neichel aram v'neishe b'Yerushalayim. Now we are dwelling in a city, even though we normally don't do that, because Nebuchadnezzar is sieging, waging war against the area, and we thought we would find refuge in the city. But we're not going to change and adopt city ways. So this is the so-called ceremony, the interaction that Yirmiyahu has with the Rechavim. But so far no meaning was given to that. So now Hashem is explaining to Yirmiyahu, what is it that I wanted you to learn from that encounter? So that's the next part. Pasuk Yud Beis. Vayehi devar Hashem el Yirmiyahu lemar. Kai amar Hashem tzavakos Elokei Yisrael. Holech v'amarta liyish Yehuda u'liyishrei Yerushalayim. Go and speak to the people of Yehuda and the dwellers of Yerushalayim. Haloi tikchu musar lishmayel dvarim Hashem. Can't you take musar? Can't you take chastisement to listen to me? Look at how much kavod these people have for their father. Their father told them something and they simply said, this is what we do. It's not easy to be a nomad, not to have property, not to have a regular home, not to enjoy wine that brings simcha. But if our father told us to take that on, we will not deviate. You, the Jewish people, you have a father that's much greater than Yonadav ben Rechav. But you don't listen to your father. Where's the kibbud av? Hukam es divrei Yonadav ben Rechav yatziv es banu v'ludi shas yav lo shasu ad hayom hazeh. Look at how they established the words of their father not to drink wine. Ki shamu es mitzvahs aviyim. They listened to the mitzvah of their father. V'anechi dibarti aleichem hashkem v'daber. And I speak and I command you over and over and over again, and you don't listen to me. V'yeslach aleichem, Hashem says, and I send to you as kol avadei hanevim, all of my servants, the Nevi'im, Hashkem b'shaloach lemor, every morning, shuvu no ish midarku hara, do tshuva v'tiva ma'aleichem, make your deeds good. V'al teichu acharei Elohim acherim liyavim, do not go after other gods to worship them. Ushvu ala damash v'nesati lechem v'v'zechem, and then you will be able to dwell in the land. In other words, it's not even a hardship. They were given a commandment that doesn't give them a makam kavua. And fakert, I'm giving you a commandment that will enable you to stay in the land. You're getting something good from it. And yet, lo hitisem es oznechem, you did not incline to me your ears. Lo shamatem elai, you did not listen to me. Ki hekimu b'nei Yahonadav ben Rechav es mitzvah savim. They fulfilled the commandment of their father, Sher Tzivam. Ha'am hazeh loy shamu elai. Now remember, this is before the Babylonians are waging war. Well, it's a little confusing because it did mention that the Rechavim went to Yerushalayim because Nebuchadnezzar waged war, but that's a different stage. That is the stage where he conquered Eretz Yisrael, and that war is actually over. Later, Tzidkiyahu will rebel, and there'll be a second siege that'll be much worse. Right now, the war is over, but the Rechavim happen to be in Yerushalayim because they went there during the war of conquest. Lachain, Pasuk Yudzayin, Kayamar Hashem Elokei Tzavakos Elokei Yisrael, Hineni Mevi Yehuda V'Eskol Yoshua Yerushalayim Eskol HaRa'ah Asher Dibarti Aleim. Behold, I will bring all of the evil decrees that I have said, because Yan Dibarti Aleim V'lo Shameyu, I have spoken to them and they have not listened. V'Ekra Lehem, I call to them, V'lo Anu, they don't respond. But what is the bracha to the Beis Rechavim? Ulebeis Rechavim Amar Yirmiyahu Kai Amar Hashem Tzavakos Elokei Yisrael Yan asher shamatem al mitzvahs Yehonadav avichem. Because you have listened to the commands of Yonadav, your father. Vatishmeru es kol mitzvosav. And you have observed his commandments. V'tasu k'chayil asher tziva eschem. And you have done all that he commands. L'chein, kai amar Hashem tzavakos Elokei Yisrael, lo yikares ish liyonadav ben Rechav omeid lefanai kol hayamim. The seed of Yonadav ben Rechav shall never be cut off, meaning obviously people will die, but there will never be a destruction of that line. And Chazal interprets, based on the shita that these were actually Yidden, descendants of Bnei Yisrael who converted, that the descendants of Yonadav ben Rechav lo yikares, they will not be cut off from the Sanhedrin, they will continue to be Gedolei Torah, Talmidei Chachamim, and members of the Sanhedrin. Now, a little bit of a kasha. I read the pasuk and it says, because you listened to your father, I will give you this zechus. Well, what's going on? I mean, that's not listening to Hashem, listening to the Father. Hashem is rewarding you because you didn't deviate from the commandment of your father. Does that just mean mitzvahs kibbud aviyim? Or perhaps it means you took your father's hadracha. It's not just you listened to your father, but you took your father's hadracha to live a life of simplicity, pashtus, almost poverty. And because of that, you were not nichshal in the other chatoim of Am Yisrael. And for that you deserve to have a kiyum and a fulfillment.